So we have Philip Alderfer, who's kind of a big deal. If you don't know who he is, you're about to know. Very humble too. Really funny. I mean, I'm gonna let you do your bio, Phil, because I feel like you've done so many things that you would probably summarize better than I would on that. But we're really excited to have you, and you have a database boot camp core. I mean, you're kind of a big deal. So I'm gonna pass it to you.
That's not true.
I'm going to pass it to you. So if you want to do your bio, and then I'm really excited to learn from you today as well.
Perfect. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's way too generous. I will give you the nickel version, though, of the story. First of all, again, my name is Philip Alderfer, KW Maps senior mastery coach, and do a couple of things. I started in real estate in 2001, end of 2001, early 2002, and I got started. I grew up in a real estate family. As a family, we had real estate companies, but I was always no way, no how. This is not for me. And after having been in politics for a number of years, I started a real estate company in Homer, Alaska in 2002. Over the next 6, 8, 10 years, that grew, and it was going to be a small boutique firm. And before I knew it, we had about 35% market share in our community in the town we lived in. That turned into a TV show called Buying Alaska, and that was the first reality real estate TV show on the Discovery Channel, and that turned into a conversation with the folks here at the Keller Williams Market Center in Anchorage, which turned into becoming a team leader and realizing that I didn't actually like the job of being a team leader. I really liked coaching, which brought me here. So long story short, I started in real estate because I got started in Keller Williams anyway, because I was on TV for a number of years. So that's the backstory. I don't know if there's any other details, Tyler, you wanted me to share, but that's the nickel version of how I ended up on the screen today. So
Well, and you're running like a speaker circuit, right? I mean, you've
correct.
been doing that. You built because you let me do a demo of it, of like this whole thing about your database. I've never seen this extensive. How to tag it, how to
Yep.
touch people, what you need to do, and then you also coach some really big teams. And you're out in Alaska, kind of a. I
Correct.
mean, there's a lot of stuff. You're super humble, I know. So,
Thank you.
but you're going to talk to us today about some pretty important stuff. And
Yeah. So the theme for today, this is I call it database minicamp. And if I was to ask the question, throw in the chat, give me a comment, give me a thumbs up. How many of you would like to make more money next year? Yes or no? Okay, there we go. Universally, we say yes. How many of you would like to make more money by doing business with people you know, like, and trust? Okay. And if I could give you 5 steps that would guarantee $100,000 in the next 35 minutes, would that be a win? Okay, that's what we're going to do today. That's the goal. So that's the goal of Database Bootcamp, the long version. And today is the mini camp, which is the 5 steps you need. And I'm going to share my screen if I can and go there. And can we all see that? Got it? Okay. So this is Database Minicamp, 5 steps to 6 figures. Now, what I'm going to ask is 3 things. Have 3 things ready. First of all, grab your phone because there is free stuff and there are QR codes. So you will need your phone. If you need to text your mother, brother, father, cousin while we're on the call, that's up to you. But do have your camera ready so you can scan the QR codes to get free stuff. I tried to be very specific. Take notes in whatever way, in whatever form you want to. However, there are a couple of slides where there's a little lamp. And the little lamp is just a reminder to you and a reminder to me that this may be one of those things that you want to write down. So this is one of those small little takeaways. So I'll point that out, but if you happen to see a lamp in the corner, that might be one of those little jot this down triggers. And this works much better if it's a conversation. So feel free to ask questions, throw them in the chat. And maybe Tyler, if you want to monitor the chat or if you want to come off mute, if there's something that you want to just jump in with, please let me know. So there we go. So again, this is me. So I am in Anchorage, Alaska. You can find me on the socials, basically everywhere under the Powered by Cloud label. So I've got a real estate team here in Anchorage. I coach, and then I've got a training platform where we do longer versions and deeper dives into all of the stuff that we're going to talk about today. So hello at Powered by Cloud is probably the easiest way to reach me via email, and then you can find me out on the socials there. So the goal, my goal for you, is that by the end of our time together, you're going to do three things better afterwards than you do right now. Number one, prioritize your clients. And we'll get to the detail of that, but what I mean is we apply the 80-20 rule almost everywhere in our businesses, except in our database. And I don't understand why, and I think we should. I think the 80-20 rule applies in our database just as well. Secondly, I hope that after today, you're going to have some strategies that will help you increase engagement with the people in your database, specifically the top 20%. So the mechanics of how to communicate with, touch folks without being salesy and weird and overly scripted. Okay. The third thing then are some specific ways to nurture the relationship. So as we're engaging, are we doing so in a way that feels friendly and natural and unique to you versus unique to me or Tyler, right? And Database Bootcamp comes out of about 5,000, 6,000 hours of one-on-one coaching, and I've learned two things in my time. The first is that everything we do, right? This one stings a little bit. Every service we provide can be copied, replaced, or improved by our competition, except for the relationships we have with our people, right? Because even if I took 100% of your database and I put it into my system, I will never be you. You could steal 100% of my database, and you could start to communicate with those clients. And here's the thing, you will never be me. Now, you can copy the service, you can copy the technique, you cannot replace the relationship. That's lesson number one, kind of fact number one. The second fact, and this is just math, is that 60 to 70%, on average 60 to 65% is pretty common, of all transactions will come from someone you already have a relationship with. Period, the end. So everybody that's trying to sell you new leads and introduce new lead sources and lead gen, blah, 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 understand that they're they're chasing after the 35% of your business that's not already in your database. So if we take those two essential facts, fact number one, you can't replace the relationships. Fact number two, 65% of your transactions come from someone in your database. The question then becomes is how do we turn those database relationships into closed deals? How do we convert that resource into business? Because it only takes flour, water, salt, and yeast to make bread. And most of y'all have enough flour, water, salt, and yeast in your database now. You're just not making it in, you're just not making it into bread yet. Right? So we need a strategy or a set of strategies to do that. First of all, does that make sense? I want to stop right there. Any questions on the logic behind that? No?
I love your analogies. They're my favorite. I still use some of them from our mastermind.
Steal away. So they're free.
Yeah.
So how do we convert? If our business comes from our database and you can't replace the relationships, how do we convert those relationships into transactions? And this is the guarantee. And this is the little lamp is up in the corner. These are the 5 steps. Step number 1 is identify and focus on your top 20%. Identify and focus on your top 20%. And this is different from METs and not METs. This is different from Sphere, agent referral, blah, blah, blah. And we'll get to the definition, I promise. But identify and focus on your top 20%. It's not to say we ignore the 80%, because the 80%, if the 80-20 rule applies, the 80% will still give us 20% of our business. So we want to be aware of the fact that there's a big chunk of our business existing outside of our top 20, our VIPs. But let's begin with the low-hanging fruit. The second thing we need to do is build a human, scalable communication plan. And when I say human, I mean simply, don't be weird, right? Don't be weird. People right now are going to online platforms and looking at products to buy. And what is the first thing you do before you make a decision? You go to the reviews. Who said something about this pair of socks that I might wear? I'm not looking for what the manufacturer said. I'm looking for what a person said. People want human connection. So our strategy, our communication plan needs to be scalable because we need to do this with a lot of people and be human, right? The third thing is that your conversion, your ability to turn relationships into business depends on conversation. This is a verbal game. We can, and we'll show how you can get some business by electronic or automatic communications only, but doubling your success comes from real live conversations with people. The fourth step is that we must create community. Tyler in the ADHD group is a perfect example of this, right? Because when you by creating a community, you create a safe space, you create a network, you also create stickiness that causes you to want to be around someone more often. And we know that word of mouth relationships drive 60 to 70% of the transactions. And if we're not in and people can't be an advocate for us unless we're connected together into larger clusters. So we need to create a community around your real estate business the same way Tyler's done with ADHD. And then the fifth step is if your community is too small to accomplish your real estate goals, then we need to grow it. We need to grow your influence. We need to broaden your community. And we can do that. We can do that one-on-one in the form of voice-to-voice referrals, but we can also do that strategically with social media and direct mail. And if you execute these 5 steps, I guarantee you will have a 6-figure business. And the only question then is how many 6 figures you want depends on how many people you're in a relationship with. Right? So the first step, identify your top 20%. The simple fact is that everyone in your database is important, but everyone is not equally important, nor are they important at the same time. We need to understand who's more important and who's important right now. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, what do we mean? Let's back up a step. What I mean is that your core advocates, which is the little red triangle, think of your database as the whole yellow triangle. Everybody in your database is inside the yellow triangle. Your core advocates, your top 20% roughly, are per person going to generate the most revenue for you. 80% of your revenue is going to come from your top 20%. Now, when I teach this live, I make somebody do the math with me. I won't do that. But if the 80-20 rule applies, let me ask you a question. Does the 80-20 rule apply within the 20%? Yes or no? Good. I see nodding heads. I would agree. If the 80-20 rule applies, it applies within the 20%. In other words, 20% of your 20% is going to drive 80% of your 80%. That's what I call the inner circle. These are the people that, this is a terrible joke. I apologize in advance. But think of the inner circle as the people you would tell you're leaving your spouse before you told your spouse. Right? This is the group that you're most connected with. These are your flag bearers. These are the ones who hear someone talking in the grocery store that they're thinking about selling your house, and they say, if you don't work with Tyler, you're an idiot. Let me tell you why. All right. So within the core advocates, there are these 2 groups. Within our 20%, there's you can kind of simplify it. There's the general 20%, and then there's your inner circle. And we want to have communication strategies that allow you to spend time with them in proportion to their contribution to your overall business success. Okay. So what is a core advocate? When I say 20%, what do I mean? Because again, this is different from met, not met, or peer, or sphere, agent, referral, whatever. I think of your core advocates. I would encourage you to think of your core advocates as meeting these criteria. Number one, they have done, they will do, or will send business to you. So they might be a very good friend who's never bought a house, but sends referrals. But not only have they done, will they do, or will they send business to you, but because conversation is key, you must be willing to call them. If you are not willing to pick up the phone, they are not a core advocate. If they are not a core advocate, they don't count in your 20%. The second criteria is that in addition to calling, you also want to invite them to events or activities. Again, if we're building a community. Because I think we spend a lot of time, I've met this person, they're in my sphere, therefore I want to communicate with them. Well, what if they're an asshole? Excuse me. Like, what if you don't like them? Why would, they're not part of your tribe, nor should they be. Because your core advocates are your avatar clients. And it might include sphere or past clients or vendors or investors or builders. It might include online leads. It might include people you got from open houses. But there's a catch. In order to be a core advocate, you have to be able to answer these two questions. Number one, do I have complete contact information? You have to answer these questions, yes. Do I have complete contact information for them? Name, address, phone number, email. Number two, do I have motivation, timeline, and permission to engage? In other words, can I answer the 6 connection questions from Shift about this person? And the 6 connection questions, page 95, and jot this down, little lamp note. Who are they? What do they want or need to do? Why do they want or need to do it? When do they want or need to do it? How are they going to make it happen? Who, what, where, when, why, how? Yeah. So you might meet someone at, right? Let's go back to the definition of a core advocate. You might meet someone at an open house who, if we were just to use like a met, not met, or, kind of connection lead, we might call them a lead. But if at the open house, you develop a great relationship with them and you are able to answer who, what, where, when, why, and how questions, and you gather full contact information, they are someone you might think of as a core advocate. Because if you've got answers to the who, what, where, when, why, how, and you like them, and you're going to call them, you've got potentially a core advocate. Not all of your core advocates are going to perform. Not everybody's going to turn into business. But those are signs that you've developed a relationship equal to core advocate status. Now, you might have a past client that you don't want to call. They're not a core advocate, right? You might have someone from your sphere that will never do business with you because their spouse is a realtor. I would not call them a core advocate. I might go bowling with them. I might eat tacos with them, but they're not a core advocate because they have not done, they will not do, and they will not send business to me because their spouse is a realtor. That's cool. They're a friend. We need those too. This is about building a business that generates six figures, right? And the thing is, in order to build a $100,000 business, we need 500 people, 100 of whom are your core advocates. And I don't care what compensation rate you charge your clients. The national median house price for 2024 will probably be $410,000 at somewhere around the percentages that most realtors seem to charge for their services. That's at least 10,000 bucks. And if you can convert at 10%, if you can convert 10% of your core if you execute a scalable communication strategy, you will convert at 10%. 10% of 100 is 10 people. 10 people at $10,000 is 100,000 bucks, guaranteed. Now in database, in the full version, I want to respect your time, so we're not going to go into all of the detail right now. But the first step, focusing on your 20%, is getting to 500, getting 100 of them into this kind of core advocate top 20% bucket. And that looks like consolidating everybody, putting them into a single spot, scrubbing, tagging, and organizing, and then identifying your core. Now, let's pretend and this is, again, just kind of repeating that idea. Those are the three groups. Now let's pretend you've got your 500 organized and you've got 100 core advocates. I'm going to pause there, actually. I'm going to stop. Any questions? Does that make sense? No? Cool. So let's pretend you've got this group pulled together. How do we convert? Because 10% conversion is possible and the average. And when I say 10% conversion, I mean 10% conversion out of your core advocates is very normal. It's typical for the clients that I coach. It's typical for bootcamp grads when you follow what I call 444, 12. And 444, I forgot that this is scrolls in, so I'm just going to click all these buttons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. 444, 12 is the process by which we get 10% conversion. 444, 12 is 4 calls per year, 4 events, and this is a minimum. You can always do more. But at a minimum, 4 calls. At a minimum, 4 events or giveaways. At a minimum, 4 pieces of print or direct mail, something tangible, something physical. 12 at a minimum, 12 real estate emails once a month, and 12 fun and friendly emails, and 12 text messages. 444, 12. And that's 48 touches, little less than once a week, but that's kind of the rhythm, right? And does it work? This is what I was talking about when I was talking about the call, the key to conversion being the phone call. When I studied the folks that I coach and other teams and other businesses and bootcamp grads, what we found is that the group who used automatic touches only, text, email, print, that kind of stuff, they average 2 to 5% conversion from their core advocates. So electronic touches, automatic touches work. They do work. You can convert your core advocates into business, but at a low single digit, at the level of low single digits. Automatic touches plus phone calls is where conversion doubles. Because the thing you cannot swap is the relationship with the person, right? That my relationship is mine, your relationship is yours, your relationship with my people will always be different. Most of that comes from voice-to-voice communication. So automatic touches plus consistent phone calls, that's where we see high single-digit conversion. And when you combine automatic touches plus phone calls plus events and giveaways, that's where we start to see 10% conversion and better from the core advocate group. But again, if you don't have full contact information and the who, what, where, when, why, how questions, They are not a core advocate. So the first things when I'm coaching folks through this, we say, well, I've got my top 20% is really good. I got 150, got 250 people. And my question is, well, why aren't you closing 20 deals from them? And the answer is because we don't know the who, what, where, when, why, how questions. So we can't be of service to them when they have a need because we don't know when that need is going to come up. And ultimately, what really matters is not the specific quantity of touches, but the variety and the consistency. Automatic, voice to voice, event, something tangible, something in their hands, right? If you get a 30% open rate on an email, you're doing really well, which means by definition, 7 of the 10 email messages you send will never get opened. You need other ways. Most of your phone calls won't get answered, but if you leave a voicemail, you have a better shot at having a voice-to-voice conversation. And when you combine that with an event giveaway, with an event or a giveaway or an activity or something in their hands, you're going to trip over most people in your core advocate group at least once or twice in a year. And that's what cements the relationship. That's what converts the relationship into transactions, because it's in that conversation that you determine and they determine what the next real estate need is that you can help them with. Now, okay, so I'm going to go back. Does that make sense? Any questions on the touch plan, 444, 12? That's all clear?
One question.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you talking about the 20% or the 20% of the 20%?
Great question. Thank you. This is just the whole 20%, not just the inner circle, but just the whole 20%. So if you got 500 people in your database, like in your CRM, I'm talking about the 100 folks. We're aiming for at least 100 folks that you're delivering 444, 12 to. Is that more clear? Yeah. Yeah. Now, the inner circle, the 20% of the 20%, those are the people that if it was me, I would be taking one of those people to coffee or breakfast once a week. That's in addition to 444, 12. But if you went on 50 first dates and ran 444, 12, and you had roughly 500 to 600 people in your database, you're going to make 6 figures. Like, the math just shows us that you will. And if you're not, well, then I would ask, number one, what are you saying? What are you saying to these people? And number two, are you really delivering on 444, 12? Now, the what do you say problem, a lot of us fumble with what to say. And remember, we said, don't be weird, like be normal. Here's what to say. Literally what to say. These are the 4 soft touch calls that I've used for 20 years. I've sold about 1,400 homes in my career. And when I was still in production, team was roughly 52 to 53 million a year running this play. So in the 444, one of those 444s is 4 calls. And the purpose of this call, this is a connection call. This is not a real estate punch in the face. This is not the Gary Vaynerchuk right hook. This is the Gary Vaynerchuk jab, jab, jab. If you've ever read his book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. Right, the right hook is the close for the sale, not what we're doing here. The purpose of the soft touch call is not a transaction call. It's a value add call. It's the call you'd like to receive, right? They're easy to make, they're robust, and they're timeless. So what in the world are we talking about? Here are the 4. Number 1, everybody should do this. Every business, should do this, because if they don't, they're missing an opportunity. Some insurance companies do, some folks don't. I've heard folks, when we talk about this in other, when I've done other webinars and courses and things, oh, my doctor does this. Call number 1 is that we're updating our records. Hey, Marianne, Philip Alderfer, Cloud Realty Group here in Anchorage. How are you? It's so good to hear your voice. Been a minute since we last spoke. I'm just reaching out because it's January. We're updating our records. And I know you've not sold your house without us, but I just wanted to verify. Is happymermaid@gmail.com still the best email address at which to reach you? Yes, no, maybe. Got it. Obviously, this is your cell phone. By the way, do you prefer like a text message or a phone call? What's better for you? That's it. Thank you so much for taking the time. Keep an eye out because our next monthly giveaway is going to be on our Facebook page. Love for you to win the gift certificate to Beartooth Theater Pub. By the way, that was a real live conversation from this week. And yes, the giveaway is for Beartooth. Right. And if any of you ever find out who owns the email address happymermaid@gmail.com, please let me know. I've used that example for 10 years and they've never responded to me, but I would like to buy that email address just so that I own the example that I use. happymermaid@gmail.com. Call number 2. Hey, Marianne, Philip Alderfer, Cloud Realty Group. It is March. It's spring break. Hope you're having a good time. Excellent. It's been, 90 days since we last spoke. But I just wanted to reach out and see what your real estate plans were for the year. Well, as we talked about, Philip, we're not moving until the kids graduate high school. Oh, yes, I know. I'm sorry, that wasn't clear. Let me ask a better question. Are you planning on doing anything to the house this year? Building anything, fixing anything, installing anything, repairing anything? The reason I ask is, as you know, our goal is to provide great service before, during, and after the sale to all of our great clients like you. And that includes updating our vendor book, our vendor directory with plumbers, painters, electricians, et cetera, the folks that have helped our clients out in the past year and are ready, willing, and able to help in the next year, and some of whom who offer discounts to our clients. You doing any house projects? Because I'd love to send you a copy of our vendor directory if you need one. No, they say. Fantastic, Marianne. I know the house is perfect. Let me ask, who else do you know that might be doing a house project that would like a copy of the directory? Can I text it to them? Can I send it to them? Can I email it? Call number 2 is the vendor directory. You can update your records and make the vendor directory call every year, regardless of where the real estate market is. And that's a soft touch connection. It simply reminds people that you're in business without the, do you want to buy a house, sell a house, invest in real estate today? Right, which is the call that nobody likes to get. And very few of you like to make. Right. So the third call is the event invitation. Hey, Marianne, Philip Alderfer, you probably saw it on Facebook, but we're having our summer party, fall giveaway, winter movie, whatever it is. The event invitation is just like it sounds. It's the event invitation, which is why we need to do events and giveaways in order to have a reason to pick up the phone and call. Call number 4 is the one real estate kind of specific ask. And this, I think, is a really good 4th quarter call. Hey, Marianne, Philip Alderfer, Cloud Realty Group here in Anchorage. As you know, our goal is to help our great clients like you build legacy wealth through real estate ownership and real estate investment. Who else is working with you on that right now? Nobody. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. How important is real estate ownership and real estate investment to you as part of your wealth building plan? Would you be offended if we helped you stay on top of that a little bit better in 2025? Great. What would that look like? Are you shopping for investment property now? If we found one, would you like us to call you? That's the 4th call. We're not here to sell you something. We're here to protect your wealth or help you build wealth. How can we do that? And again, I want to respect your time, so we're not going to dive deeply into any one of those 4. But those are the 4 soft touch calls. And the point of the soft touch call really is to put you into conversations where my challenge to you is to be keen to look for family changes and life events that would trigger a real estate move. It's to get someone talking so that you know when to help them. And their next reason for your service might be 3 years from now when the kids graduate high school. And that's totally fine. Because they are the will do business with you category. That's part of your 20%. That's part of your core advocate group, even if they're not going to do a transaction this year. We need deals in 3 years as well. But when you have these conversations and you run 444, 12, over the course of a year, you will get both transactions and referrals because they'll be thinking about you at the rate of 10% conversion or better, or better. Any questions on that, on the conversations? Nope. Okay, we're gonna charge ahead. So the fourth step are events and giveaways. And here's the trick. This is the hack. Events and giveaways are simply an excuse to encourage you to pick up the phone and make the call because y'all don't want to. So the event and the giveaway is a way to trick yourself into doing the thing that we know we need to do, which is have conversations with our core advocates. So my suggestion is that you match the event to your business and personal style. If you're investment and money and financially focused and people think of you that way, then your events and your activities and your giveaways should be investment and money and financially focused. In other words, there's no magic in the event, the type of event. If you're fun and friendly and people think of you as if you host the party, you like the movie, you go to the sporting event, do events that have that theme. Right? Large events. So number one, match the event or the giveaway to your business and your style. Because again, that's the irreplaceable, untransferable thing that exists between you and your clients that would not exist between me and your clients. The second thing is large and small events both work. You could have few big events. You could have monthly micro events. Doesn't matter, right? Micro events are better for connecting. Because if you have 100 people at a party, if you talk to 20 of them, you're lucky, right? Which is especially why I like the 51st date strategies for the inner circle, because that's a one-to-one. And then it doesn't need to be very long, and it also doesn't need to be very expensive, right? But that's one-on-one connection, right? And the thing to remember with events and giveaways, regardless of what you run, is that event attendance is important, but communication is the key. My fantasy client event is the old Memorex cassette tape commercial. And this is really dating me, but bear with me. Memorex cassette tapes used to have an ad, which was a guy sitting in an overstuffed leather chair, and there was a glass of wine on a coffee table in front of him, and it was spilling off the edge of the table, and right in front of the coffee table was a pair of speakers, like stereo speakers, and the caption was Memorex. Is it live or is it Memorex? In other words, advertising the quality, the fidelity of this cassette tape. My favorite party would be a party where nobody comes. Nobody. I'm going to invite, I had 2,400 and some odd people in the database. I'm going to invite 2,400 people to a party. Nobody comes, and I get to sit in a chair and listen to the music I want to listen to as loud as I want to listen to it. By myself. Perfect party. For me. But it would still serve the purpose of being a way to communicate with my clients. Event attendance is important, but it's not the key. Communication is the key. So suit the style that works for you, right? Now, the teams and businesses I coach, a lot of them do these events and giveaways online. This is just a sample. One time I was the winner of a team I coach's giveaway, so I needed to share the hat on the socials. Giveaways can be small, branded Yeti stuff. If you're thinking about how to give things away, Mitten Home Team uses Wheel of Names, a way to choose names. These are just samples, and we do a little bit more in boot camp on the specifics. But the point of the giveaways, as opposed to the events, is to use social media to make the connection. Win tickets, win this Valentine's giveaway. These are smaller micro events that afford you the opportunity to make the calls and have the conversation and potentially generate new leads in the process. But events and giveaways are both equally effective ways to communicate with your database if you use it as an excuse to pick up the phone and call. Hey, Marianne, we're giving away MSU U of M football tickets on our Facebook page. Have you registered yet? Please do. I'd love to see you win. Those are just samples. Now, here's the thing. If you're going to host, so those are giveaways. If you're going to host an event, don't improvise the event. Don't wing it, because that'll just screw you up. If you're going to organize an event, my suggestion is that you plan 90 days in advance at a minimum, right? Who are your sponsors? Who's paying for this thing? Who's running the show? Not you, because you're going to be talking to your people. How will you capture contact information for the people who participate? And what does a win look like? Plan this as seriously as you'd plan any other lead gen strategy, because that's what it is. It is a lead generation strategy. Now, here's the first. Everybody grab your phone. Scan that code. If you want a copy of that event planning guide, that's a digital PDF, you can just download it. Here's the thing, and yes, shameless plug, you'll also get subscribed to the newsletter. I hope this conversation is valuable. The newsletter is just full of more of this kind of stuff. So if you scan the code, you can subscribe to our newsletter, which is called the Weather Report. And every 2 weeks, we do these kinds of things and more. We interview top performers in business, sports, and media, distill those into models, and then bring those models to you. And then you'll also get the event guide for free. So if you're going to host events and you would like the event guide, easy way to get it. Okay. Now, that's the end of the communication piece for if you have enough folks in the database. If you've got your 500 and you've got your 100 core advocates, you've got a 6-figure business, you're all good. So I want to pause here. Any questions on that? Any questions on steps 1 through 4? No? Okay. Now, let's imagine we don't have enough people. Let's imagine you don't have enough in the database or enough core advocates to hit your goals. So we need to grow the database. We need some strategies to increase database size. Here are the 2 that I think work the best at lowest cost. Number 1, you find more clients with social media. Not paid social media, not sponsored ads, but listing promotion on your business Facebook page following a specific model. And this is it. Listing promotion where the text is clear and direct. It doesn't give away the detail. You have great photos. I mean, super sexy photos with a specific call to action. And if you're going to boost it for 5 to 7 days. Not more, not less. And then you let Facebook do the retargeting. You build a text and email only follow-up campaign, and you put that on autopilot. You will generate new names, new leads. These are going to be in the 80%. And the challenge then for you will be to deliver a 444, 12 to them in ways that allows you to move them into your 20%. You've got to nurture those leads. These are not core advocates, but you will generate names because people we need great photos because that stops the scroll, and we need just enough information to be attractive, but not so much that it gives away everything in order to cause them to click. That's suggestion 1 if you just don't have enough names. Suggestion 2, if you just don't have enough names, is the golden letter. You probably have heard about this before. But the golden letter is a prospecting tool. It's not a farming tool. And when I say farming tool, I mean it's not a tool that we're going to use. You might use it in a geographic farm, but farming is frequent communication to a geographic space on a consistent schedule such that you become the agent of record simply by repetition. The golden letter is a prospecting tool where we're specifically turning over stones in the riverbank to find the gold nuggets, right? So we're not going to send the golden letter to the same group of people every month. That would be foolish. What we are going to do is focus on areas in your market that have at least 5% annual turnover per year. So number one, we're going to send direct mail into an area where we know there are real estate transactions happening. Let's imagine you have a client that wants to live in the most exclusive neighborhood in your community. You might send a letter to the community, but that would not be a golden letter strategy, because that exclusive neighborhood in the community where there's only one house sold every 5 years is not going to be triggered with the piece of direct mail. It's just not going to work. But that area where 5 homes out of 100 sell every year, that's an area where we can step into the relationship that the previous realtor has dropped and take over. So the first thing we need to do is send a letter into an area where there's adequate turnover. The second thing is we need to keep the letter simple. Your letter will get opened. I promise you, if you follow the process, it will get opened. Don't give the reader an excuse to throw it away. Too much text, too much nonsense, too many words. Oh, God, it's a sales letter. We have about 17 seconds between the time they get it at the mailbox and they arrive at the trash can that you, me, and everybody on the planet keeps at the back door. We want them to take it in the house, not dump it in the bin. So how do we do that? It's a handwritten envelope with a real stamp, no return address, and it's mailed locally. And what does the letter say? It says this: Dear Sir or Madam, my name is Philip Alderfer, Cloud Realty Group. Would you be interested in selling your house at 1234 Main Street to a client of mine? If so, please call my personal cell, 512-270-8260. That's it. This is a prospect. This is the most specific definition of a prospecting tool I can find. This is turning over rocks. We're not looking for people who want to get into a long-term relationship. We're not looking for people who are going to sell their house in 3 years. We're looking for people who had the conversation, and this is what happens. Hey, this is Michael. It's so funny. My partner and I were just talking about it this weekend, and we got your letter. That's what you're looking for. The textbook definition of a prospecting tool. Now, my suggestion, if you're going to use the golden letter as a prospecting tool, because of the way the golden letter converts, mail them in blocks of 500 or 1,000. Anything less than that is just unlikely to get the results that you want, and not enough results to make you feel like this is an activity worth pursuing. 512-270-8260 is my real Google Voice phone number. The reason I use a Google Voice phone number rather than my cell phone is that I want them to leave a message. And my voicemail says, hi, this is Philip Alderfer, Cloud Realty Group. I'm very sorry I missed your call. If you're ringing me about the letter I sent you, because I only use that phone number for people who get the golden letter. If you're ringing me about the letter I sent, please leave your name and a property address, and I'll call you back promptly. Why do I need them to leave their name and property address? Because I don't want to be the one picking up the phone saying, hi, Philip Alderfer. Yeah, I'm just calling about the letter you sent. Who's this? Right? All of a sudden, I look like the idiot. Google Voice takes the voicemail, transcribes it into an email. The way I've got my email folder set up, the email automatically goes to my assistant, who does the research, who then sends me the client's contact information. So within a few minutes, I get to call back and say, hi, Michael, Philip Alderfer, Cloud Realty Group. You were calling me about your property at 1234 Main Street. Is that correct? Now I'm the expert. Now I know something. Oh, yeah, I was. Do you have a buyer for my house? We get into the script and boot camp. But the golden letter will generate 1 to 3% response. In other words, if you send 500, you'll get 5 calls. 5 calls is not enough to convert to a listing because 10% of those responses generate a listing or a follow-up appointment within 90 days on average. But if you mail when you mail in blocks of 1,000, you're going to set a listing appointment. I promise you. This costs money. I get it. I get it. But if you're trying to grow the database and you're targeting specifically like seller strategies, the golden letter works if you have the budget for it. But make sure you've got the budget and make sure that you do it in a large enough block so that you're not just wasting the activity. Now, second thing to scan. We built a resource drive. Again, shameless plug, you're going to get subscribed to the newsletter. Yeah, that's what we do. If you want the golden letter resource directory, which includes that letter and the approach, scan that. So if you want the exact text of the golden letter, go ahead and grab a photo of that. That'll send you to the link. The key, I'm sorry, did I go, everybody get that? Anybody who wanted that? Everybody got it? We're good? Okay. Gary said it best. Build a database, communicate with it frequently, and service every lead that comes your way. That's what success looks like. You need 500 people. You need to understand the who, what, where, when, why, and how of your top 20%. Have a strategy to communicate with them systematically, 444, 12. And then maybe some supplementary ideas to keep the database growing. And I guarantee you will make 6 figures.
And Phil, I'm going to interject really quick. I have a call actually with well, that's great. So I'm going to let you finish up the call.
Oh yeah, we're nailing. Yeah.
And end it when you need to. This has been incredible. So we're going to have Phil. We already talked about this. I can already tell. I'm getting texts about you for ADHD coaching. Unless you change your mind, you're going to be doing the full course, and it's including the membership. So it's like way cheaper than normal, and it's just for our ADHD crew. So we'll talk about that, but that's going to be probably first quarter. So thank you so much for your time. So a couple announcements. We have this Thursday, I think I told you about this, and I'll share it again, the mini ADHD business planning clinic. It's the mini one, and I'll get the link here in a second. So this is only an hour and a half, and this is the bullet point version. This is open to everybody. You don't have to be a member of ADHD Agents Coaching to do this. It's only $49. That's it. And then you can get the full Google Suite, and the recordings and notes will be available for the whole year. And so this is for anybody that just was not wanting to join the membership, or if you are a member, then you can kind of retake it if you want to. So I'm going to drop that in the chat. This is everything you need for 2025. It's dyslexia friendly, dyscalculia friendly. We've got lead tracker sheets, your lead gen plan, your budget. I mean, everything. So I just dropped the link there. The other thing, we have a referral network. If this is free, if you're not on this, get on this. This is ADHDrefer.com. So refer, REFER, right? There's ADHDrefer.com. This is our network now, our Google Sheet of all the ADHD agents for referrals. And in the chat, if you saw it before, they were going everywhere, like back and forth every day. People were sending referrals. And so we really want to make sure to do that and send each other referrals, especially with everything going on with the market and stuff. We really want to keep that in the family, as they say, I guess. So make sure you're signing up for that. I'm going to drop that in the sheet. So if you have referrals, make sure you put them on here. And I'm dropping the link to that. If you haven't signed up, get your name on there because you are missing referrals, and it's free. It's completely free.
All right. Any other questions before I let you go? I think we're going to, I think Tyler said we're going to try and do something with Bootcamp. If you go to poweredbycloud.com, you'll see all the courses and all the Bootcamp stuff. I do have a live version, a 90-minute version of this coming up, but I think we're going to try and do something for the ADHD community. So hold off on that and let Tyler know if this was helpful and you'd like more of it. So I'll let you good people go. Thanks, everybody. Be safe. Be well. We'll talk soon.